back when I used to play marimba. There's Lee Howard Stevens wrote a book called Method of Movement, I think, for marimba. The way that Stevens talks about this is that when you're moving from one note to the next note, you want to have it so that your stroke goes straight down, you come up at an efficient angle, and then you go straight down again. So when we are hitting, we go down. As it rebounds up naturally, we go at an angle, and then we go straight down into our drum. We don't want to hit and have like this arc motion on this, or like a slicing motion when doing it, which you'll see a lot of tenor players when they're playing really fast. There might be a tendency, like sometimes I'll notice I'm doing this when I do like crossovers, where I'll turn the angle of my wrist so that they kind of follow like this, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep them the same so that you're just basically wax on, wax off, moving around the entire time. Whenever you're playing on this, you want to think of this as almost like you're playing flat across here. So I am playing in this area. I'm not playing on the top parts. I'm not playing on the back parts. And my goal is to make it so that the motion is as efficient as possible from here to here. So I want to have this amount of motion, or amount of distance in between each one of my drums. I am not trying to go too far out of here. So if I'm playing a scrape from drum 1 to drum 3, then I am not going to play in my normal playing zone when I'm just playing on drum 1. Instead, I'm actually going to shift over. The reason why is because if you were to play in your normal playing zone on here, it's going to make it so you have this huge gap from here to here. Let's try this faster. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. I don't know if you can actually hear those squeaks, but I certainly can. And if you can't, just imagine squeak sounds. One of the ways that I've heard this described is kind of like windshield wipers. You're going to be moving your hands in a way that it shifts so that your sticks are staying equidistant from the rim. So I am not keeping my hands like this the entire time and playing with one stick here and one stick here. Why? Because you're gonna get resonant rings right here, and you're gonna get a dead thud towards the center of the drum. So we want to keep our hands same distance, okay? So as we're moving across from here, this is on just one drum, we're moving like this. Where this changes is when you're doing those sweeps, those scrapes. So whenever you're moving from one drum to the next drum, you are going for the shortest distance into the proper playing zones with whatever it is that you are doing. So if I'm doing like windmills, I'm trying to keep this tight rather than going and having massive motions with my arms and whatnot. That's the optional ending. What I'm trying to focus on is whatever my technique is on one drum, that same kind of motion up and down, all I'm changing is I'm just moving my arms in and out. You'll notice a lot of tenor drummers, they have a bigger build, I guess I could say, than a lot of like snare players. One is because their drums are heavier, but two, it's also because they're using their upper body more to do these motions. So if I stand here and I do this motion, I can feel my pecs engaged to be able to move from here to here. So this quick motion is all about the upper body. You're keeping your hand in the same hold or the same grip, and all you're doing is just moving left and right and trying to go straight down into this. I don't want to use shoulder when doing this. You don't want to turn your upper body. None of this twisting motion. So when doing the wrist over wrist at that distance, when you're doing drum 3 and drum 4, again, you're trying to move as quickly as you can to get to the correct position. And I was undershooting a little bit, which is why I was hitting some of the rim, basically, or would have been airing it if I completely missed the rim. Now, when you're doing the alternating, you'll start with like right hand over, then the next time, left hand over. Whether you're doing this way or this way, etc. This is also how you can work on crossovers, but we're just doing it as double stops. So when working on these crossovers, you want to make sure that you don't have a flam so that the hand that's crossing over is louder than the hand that is underneath. But you actually want to make them so that they are the same height while doing the crossover, and the same volume or velocity, etc. Right? What I was focusing on was specifically where it was hitting on the drum head, and then what was happening with the hand that was underneath while doing this. So when you're playing, you want to make sure that your accents aren't all of a sudden making this hand move on the taps. Yes, you could move it out of the way if you need to. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to make it so that when we're playing accents like this, all of a sudden when we move over, that this hand that's underneath just like wobbles out of the way. Okay, so we want to keep it in the same spot. So when I was looking onto the side and whatnot, that's what I was looking for, was specifically the placements along here, and then to make sure that my wrist wasn't moving the stick. Time for a break. Or more like, time for a word from today's sponsor, Sludge. Providing you an ASMR experience with Jared O'Leary. Let's see what else we're going to play right now. So I'm noticing that the hand is moving too much still. The hand that's underneath. So in this case, it's the right hand when I'm doing the left hand crossovers. Late. Good thing I zoomed in for that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to 195 and play that all the way up through 200, and by the end, my arms will look like Popeye, because it's just gonna be like engorged with blood, like a full vampire. 200. Yeah! Hey, that's my face. Wearing a different shirt. That was fun. I dug it.